But hopefully I don't get too close to the sun, because that is actually kind of a problem. If I do, ooh, getting nice and purple in here. If I do, I'll just steer off to the side. But I have accidentally, well, not accidentally, I wanted to see what happened, set the controls for the heart of the sun before, and what happens is when you get too close, you start losing health, which I didn't notice, but, you know, nice flashing red border at least, so I'm not a total dummy, so I, you know, veered off before I burned completely. So I'm not sure how you recover health in this game in single player. You know, it is set up for multiplayer. There is a health beam you can get to heal other players, but I have not found a way to use it on myself. I wonder if I can set, there's a way to make like a ship-sized health beam and set it on auto fire somehow, so I can just walk into it. Don't know, but these are questions for later. Right now I need a planet. As you can see, it's a long trip. You move about 1/10 of a kilometer a second, and I'm not exactly sure how far away that planet is. If it's not the right kind, we'll have to try again, but I'm pretty sure a white planet should be what I want. And the reason for that is I may as well spoil it now, because we need to do something while we're on this long space trip. It sounds like a knockoff version of Star Trek, Space Trip. But the reason I wanted it's an ice planet. Ice planets, you know, again, I got attacked by pirates the first time I tried to set up a faction block. Ice planets have lots of nice overhangs to hide your ship under, and to, you know, set up your base under. And they also have ice crystals, which provide an easily mined source of natural light. And since if there is a type of map that shows you local area, you know, this is almost all set up for space, so there's not a lot of local navigation options that are really strong. So you need to really, really Hansel and Gretel your way to and from your base when you're on these planets. So I'm pretty sure the crystals I have will let me set up blacklight rods, so that's going to be one of the first things I make, because I'm gonna need to leave trails so I can get back to the base. But the first things I'm gonna make are more power supplies, a basic factory, then a capsule refinery, then an undetonator, which is a spawn point, and oh yes, and a couple of power capacitors, because I will need a maximum power level higher than what I currently have. That, I'm not sure if that is an asteroid or a starbase, but either way, it is not our goal, so we will keep heading for our goal. This keeps lurching. Oh, that's because it's loading new things. This is a very resource-heavy game. And another hint, just based on what I found out, if you try and give it more than a single gigabyte of RAM to play with, and it will not start Java, this means you need to update Java. So, learn from Rob's mistakes. There's much to learn. Now, please be an ice planet, so I can use you as I need. Almost there, though. Okay, almost. It is about 17 seconds away. Now, are you ice? Please be ice. It looks like ice. I think I see glowy blue parts. Basically, every planet is shaped like a 12-sided die, and each of its faces has a different set of resources. So we're going to let this spawn in a minute while the frame rate lurches like a mofo, and then we will pick a place to set down. This face is not looking bad for that, because I'm seeing a lot of canyons, and I want to set up in a canyon, and I see a nice blue light, which means yes, we're on the ice planet, and there's ice crystal there. So, you know, we are looking good. This should be the start of the setup I need to really make a decent facility. There are far more grandiose things to do in this game than live in a cave and mine resources, but that's how we're starting out. Start out slow and pick up. So, it's spawning in at a decent rate. I'm going to check out that canyon. Gravity has taken hold. Which, that's another thing. There are ways to get gravity to, like, function, you know, not function on a ship. Even when you're in, you know, in the range of the planet. But I do not have those blocks yet, of course. Okay, I'm going to just stop right here and get out, because this is a great place to stop, because there's a huge ice crystal. Granted, I'm going to be mining some of it, but it's like the brightest spot on this face of this planet. So, this is where we will begin. Okay, yeah. Now, let's get some ice crystals. We'll need markers. Left click on foot if you're not using a laser of some sort as your mining beam. Things are still spawning in, so it's going to run a little choppy right now. And of course, to make sure I do not, you know, envelop my hard drive in Fraps videos, this is only running at 30 FPS. I apologize for that. It does look a lot prettier to higher frame rate, but we do what we can. Okay. Oops, did not want the plants, but they can get out of my way. Now, some more ice crystals, please. But yeah, you'll notice how blue this area is. You know, how bright and blue. That's these ice crystals. They glow. And yeah, again, it's still spawning in planet around me, so it's updating chunks a little slow. And frame rate is going through the floor, so I hope this renders properly. It'll be an adventure finding out, but what the hell. Now then. Music's even a little choppy. I should probably just turn the sound off, but I don't want to totally do away with the sounds of the game, and there's no music to worry about, so... Not unless somebody has, you know, copyrighted ambient noises, which, let's face it, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. Okay. Just clear off a little more space to work under. We've got, like I said, we've got fairly good cover in case there is a sudden onset of pirates. They can still get us from some angles, but they've got to work at it. And eventually, probably in between videos, I'll end up building a garage roof just to be sure. But okay, this is like the best covered area, so let's start building here. First thing you have to do is bring up refined raw materials, and we'll use the Surtees and the Rammet to start, because they are... I think you only need 10 of each of these to make a basic factory. Let's find out. And you get 10 crystal and 10 alloyed metal mesh, depending on whether you are creating an alloy. Ah, you only need 10 of either to make a basic factory. That's generous. Let's get that out of there, because I only need one. Okay, now, here's what we do. Yes, and the server, which does not technically exist, is under heavy load. So, of course, maybe it's trying to connect with the game server somewhere, which... no. Okay, let's turn that off. Because I think it just ate my, yeah, it ate my other kind of resources to, make that. But let's start that refining, because while we get this set up, we will need more materials. Okay, here it is. It does not currently have enough power. I'm going to deactivate production until I'm ready for it, and power it up. We're going to make a couple of power reactors and a couple of power capacitors as soon as we have the materials to do so. Let's look up power reactors first. I think they're just crystal capacitors, but I'm not sure. They might be some of each, but we'll find out. Power reactor module. Okay. Recipe. Alloyed metal mesh times 20, which we should by now have. Oops, no, not generic resources. Raw materials. Yes, we do. We have more than enough. In fact, let's get some crystal going. We'll need it. Okay, so power this up a little more. That's probably as much as it can hold. Activate production. Let's make 2. 1, 2. 2? Needs more power. It only has enough for 2, so I don't have to worry about overshooting. Come on. There. Yes? There we go. Deactivate production, pull this back over, pull these over. Okay. Now, this is, this is not going to be pretty to start with, but it'll get better as time goes on. Oops, that's right. I'm on a gun, so I get the gun effect instead of the mining laser. So I just, accidentally powered up that flower before I shut it back down. Okay, there's a couple of power reactors, and the configurations for these to get the most out of them are bizarre. I do not have them down yet, but as far as I can tell, T-shaped structures are the most productive from what I've read. But next thing are power capacitors, because the basic power capacity of a planet is like 500, and you need way more than that. Okay, that takes crystal composite 20 per. So, go to bring up refine raw materials. We're up to 100. Excellent. Let's go back to refining some of these. Once we have a pair of capacitors, we'll probably have enough power to get going on this. Deactivate production. Power capacitors. Oops, they need to go in the hotbar, duh. Okay, power capacitors, which also provides some nice green light. Now, turn this on. Power load is 2570. That should be enough for the next thing we want to build. And the next thing we need is... where is it? A capsule refinery. What do we need for that? We need 10 each alloyed metal mesh and crystal composite. Well, we're in luck. That. Come on. That. And that. Activate. Okay, now deactivate production. Close the factory. Stop refining raw materials, because we are now wasting capsules. Because when you refine things through the built-in systems in your spaceship, or your spacesuit, all you get is the alloyed metal mesh or the crystal composite. Once you are doing it through the capsule refinery, you get those plus capsules of whatever kind of crystal or ore you're working with, like so. Okay, well, while that runs, the next thing we need to make, and we probably have enough, is an undetonator. We want to be able to spawn right here with all our stuff. So that's our next trick. There it is. Production recipe, 40 crystal, 10 mesh. We have it. Activate production. And deactivating production not only keeps it from just continually pumping out stuff you may not want, it also stops the power drain on your reactors, which with a setup this small is very important. So here's the undetonator, and my spawn point is now set here. So we will come right back here whenever we need to do anything. Now, the next thing we need to build, I believe a faction module... Oops, cancel. I believe a faction module is an advanced piece of equipment. Yes, it is. It comes from the standard factory. So that's what we're building now. If we have enough. I probably have enough supplies to do that once I get over to the... where is it? There it is. We'll be making storage soon, too. It is 20 each. That's easy enough. I'll need to get more crystal composite out of... Oh yeah, I also have other things I need to load up with that, so... Standard factory... Deactivate. Set up the standard factory. The one thing about this, the user interface, if you're not exactly in the box, it may decide you don't need to actually build what you wanted to build, or move what you wanted to move. So, okay, that's done. Let's load in the next set of stuff. Take out the mesh and the crystal we have, in case we need them, because we probably will. Now, a faction module, let's see what kind of capsules we need for that, because that's going to be the thing. Let's deactivate production until we're ready. Drop the power load. Faction module. Faction module requires alloyed metal mesh and Hatel. Is Hatel one of the ones I have? Nox, Certes, Ramit, Masset. No. Okay, Hatel is green. So, here's what we do next. First, we're going to make some storage because we will need... I want to put some of these random blocks I have away so I have space in my inventory, and then we're going to gather up some words, Rob. We're going to gather up some more ice crystals and go on an adventure. Oh yes, and there's something else I need to do with the faction module before we leave too. 1. I'll make 3. 2. 3. Okay. There we go. Now, there's something you can do here, and I'm going to show you that much before we move on to the next part, which is almost any block, but almost all the factory type blocks can go into connection mode. C to go into connection mode, the orange outline block is the master block, V to connected. What that means is I can now put my basic materials in here, along with anything else. You can also just use it for straight up storage, but I'm going to actually put that in a different space now that I think about it. But I can now set the factory to make things, and it will pull ingredients from there. So, now for the next storage, I'm not going to connect them just yet, but we're going to put one here and one here. This one I'll just use for storage of random crap, because that's all I need right now. And I'll deactivate the auto pull to save power drain. Now, I've never run into any... I don't need the flowers, though, they can go. I've never run into any monsters on the planet Knockwood. I don't know if there are mobs that can spawn on a planet. We'll find out, but... let's make sure everything's deactivated except for the capsule refinery, which I want to keep going. Okay, actually, I can deactivate that until I get back, because there's nothing going on with it right now. Now, the faction module, when I find it, I believe I'm looking for green materials to make a faction module. So, but it's going to be important to set up, because even if I don't want a home planet yet, which I don't, using the faction module means that you get a bonus for mining in systems you control. So, Hatel is what we're looking for. Because, as opposed to like 1, 2, 3 in every block you mine by hand, you get 12 to 36. So we want to set that up as fast as we can. And that is Ramit again. Oops. Okay, so now we've got 62 ice crystals. That's enough to start a good trail. Let's see if this is Hatel, but I'm pretty sure Hatel is green. Let's find out. That is Zircaner, yeah. May as well leave that, because we don't need anything it makes yet. But we're going to go off in this direction, and not only do the ice blocks provide a lot of light in and of themselves, but ice is translucent, so if you set them down, you get a lot more of a luminous area than you otherwise would. So I almost would prefer the power rods, because they are easier to make out against natural ice crystal, But natural ice crystal does not form in the way I'm using it, so it should be okay. That's tough to get out of. That's tough to get out of. I should have picked a better direction, though, because I need to know where I'm going and that I can actually hop up out of there without too much trouble before we start out. So let me do a little bit of recon here in this valley before we go too far. That is the one problem with setting up in a cliffside. It's cliffside. Okay, so looks like I may have to dig my way out, but let's look around. And pardon me for a moment while I go silent and grab something to drink.